This is me in a World Cup cyclocross race, and this is me suffering from a traumatic brain injury and battling my mental health. This is how a crash changed everything and how I got to the other side.
All the clanking in the kitchen is starting to get physically painful, and the idea of driving home is terrifying. I spent a lot of time being defined as the kid with the TBI, and it's also nice to not be defined by it and live life not in the shadow of it. And the closer I've gotten to normal, the less you want to advocate for yourself. I could have easily removed myself from the noise, but I just want to be normal. I just want to help because it should be a normal thing to just exist with the dude who built the bikes that you're riding, that you made a small little career out of. So suck it up, dude. It's just cooking dinner. It's just having casual conversation with your hero. And yet, here I am, not knowing how I'm gonna get through saying goodbye in a good way. It's it all comes at a cost, and the cost is expensive tonight.
In 2015, I was on the top of my game. There was nothing stopping me from being the next professional bike racer who was gonna go to Europe and make waves. It was just another training ride. The last before my first season racing as a professional. The culmination of 5 years of work, complete dedication. It was just another training. Every aspect of my life focused on showing the world what I was capable of. It was just another training ride. It was just another training ride. Until it wasn't. It was just another training. Riding through the woods, transitioning between two sets of trail, I just had this freak crash. My head hit the ground and stopped. I remembered everything. I didn't lose consciousness. I even got up and tried to finish my intervals because, the season's coming. But after 5 minutes, I started to feel kind of weird and dizzy, and at that point, I called a friend to pick me up, and they said that I really wasn't making any sense. And luckily, we were able to coordinate, and I got in the car and headed home. And over the course of the next 4 days, what I thought was just gonna be 1 or 2 days off the bike got worse and worse, to the point where I was struggling even to make oatmeal in the morning. Remembering what goes where, or how, even where I was keeping things in the kitchen. I'd make breakfast and just be so exhausted that I'd have to take a nap just to have enough energy to do lunch. I went from wanting to be one of the best cyclists in the world to wishing that I could just be a human that could exist. Things got dark. I was suffering from the usual concussion symptoms: nausea, headache, dizziness, mood swings, light and sound sensitivity. But what little information I could find said to isolate and avoid anything that causes symptoms. In the weeks and months that I was supposed to be racing around the country, I was grasping for straws, any progress coming at a snail's pace. Even a year into my recovery, I was still looking for answers, trying to find I don't know, anything that could help explain what was happening. I watched friends and other cyclists recover and race within weeks of hitting their head. Why not me? I was connected with Ryan, whose story was similar to my own, an elite athlete who, like me, was navigating the world, trying to come to terms with what the new normal was.
What environment did you have to set up for yourself, like day in the life?
Just like a sensory deprivation room.
Yeah.
Really like lights, noises, like even just like the din of like these guys talking, just like super overwhelming. Like just like I would go from just like, you know, pretty okay to like just like low energy to just overwhelmed. Super exhausting.
Well, not only is it exhausting because you're like taxing things that shouldn't be taxed, but you're dealing with the emotional impacts of it. Will I ever be able to do this again?
Yeah.
Is this forever? I think a month in I tried to ride and I made it like 8 minutes outside. I'm not home and like just passed out for like 2 days almost, just like done. It was just 8 minutes. And the improvement curve was so shallow that it just like made me depressed.
Any objective was just a future failure. This is why I'm like very excited to have this conversation with you today, because like mental health stuff is always like never really talked about. Just a lot of stigma and people and like that for me was mostly mental health issues that like kind of were brought to the surface or increased or whatever. There's very few people can feel very isolating.
I now know that I was suffering from post-concussion syndrome. It affects 8% of survivors, and it lengthens the time of healing from the average of 28 days to months or even years. In 2017, when I spoke to Ryan, the conversation around mental health was hushed. People felt like they had to suffer in silence. The stigma of not being okay kept their struggles in the dark. And while I was battling my concussion, there was another fight happening, hidden away, hiding. I really didn't feel hope, which was rare for me. I lost control. What started as something that was very functional to be ready to compete again turned into a thing that I found control, which spiraled into a giant monster of an eating disorder that fully and wholly consumed my life. And I kept it hidden. I justified it in 1,000 different ways. Had no more control. It controlled me. When I look back on that time and see the photos of myself, all I see is someone who is just suffering. In January 11th, 2018, through the encouragement of friends and family, I went to the Walden Behavioral Care Center in Boston, Massachusetts, where I had to spend the night in a cardiac unit because they thought that I needed to be monitored so I could survive the night. When I went to the hospital, I was 124 pounds. I was sick. That was the low. That's where I had to dig out of. That's where I was forced to look at my monsters, to bring them out into the light. It's hard to put into words or visuals what those 2 months at Walden were like. The intensity of reckoning with myself and my monsters was eased by the staff and fellow patients, also fighting their own battles. Together, we learned how to exist, learned how to live. After years of being disconnected from my mind and my body, I learned how to be whole, to become the human that I am today. And so that's how Small Monsters came to be. Since 2021, we've raised over $100,000 for programs and education around mental health or concussion recovery. This year, we sponsored all of the kids races at the USCX, showing kids that it's okay to have monsters and providing their parents with resources for if themselves or their kids get in an accident and have a concussion. We do group rides and education rides here in San Francisco, and I race with my monsters literally on my sleeve to show that it's okay to not be okay, to show that you can come from a very dark place and that there is hope and that there is light. That was 4 years from when I had my accident to when I was fully me, but I was able to exist in the world. That was my finish line. The finish line for Small Monsters Project or for that recovery wasn't when I like won my first race. It was like, I can go out to dinner with friends and not think twice. I wasn't getting overwhelmed from my TBI, or I wasn't worried about what I was eating. I was just being present and being me. It's a celebration of where I came from and where I am now. And I get to live in that celebration. So not only am I like working a full-time job and have a full life outside of bikes and competing against these guys, I came from a point where I wasn't even gonna ride bikes again. Because of that experience, everything is bonus. So why not see how far we can take it? Why not prove to myself that going to Europe was an inevitability, even despite my accident and my monsters? And I also hope that in some ways this inspires people to know that you can go through the hard thing and come out the other side and even thrive.
Say it's not the words. I really wanna see you act. Look to the morning. Grieve when the sun puts me down. My tongue is tired. I come to you and try. Anxious and so love until you on my back. I know I could be more. I see in you what I like. You think it's bad. I know just what to think to make me sad. Forgot my names again. I wonder why I feel so bad. I try to share. Being a silent that tracks. You said forget the flare. I really wanna see you act revelatory. Can't see it all.